The second Metal Gear Survive was announced, it was immediately showered with hate. This should have come as a surprise to no one, seeing as after canceling Silent Hills and having a less than amicable separation of Hideo Kojima, Konami cemented themselves as one of the most hated companies in the industry. No matter what game Konami made, if it had the Metal Gear name on it, it was going to be perceived as exploiting Kojima's legacy for quick profit in the most egregious way possible. But I'll be honest, I didn't think the game would or could be all that bad. With the excellent Fox engine and all the mechanics from Phantom Pain being used, at worst, it would be a mindless action game with competent gameplay. With such a solid foundation to build upon, I thought they would really have to try to make this game terrible, and it really seems like they did.
I read the report. This one's infected.
Yes. Which is what put the subject in suspended animation. But it won't be long before that ends.
And then a threat to mankind becomes reality.
That won't be the case.
Why not?
I told you, this soldier is a traveler. A traveler who is going to enter the gates of hell for us.
What a ridiculous... Are you serious?
The first 90 minutes force you to endure boring, inconsequential cutscenes that try their best to justify the existence of this game. Chronologically, Survive takes place directly after the events of the XOF attack on Mother Base and Ground Zeroes. Outside of showing Big Boss on screen for a few frames, there's not much of anything that connects this nonsense to the core Metal Gear series. Long story short, you play as a deceased soldier of Mother Base and are chosen to venture into an alternate dimension known as Dite to find a cure for an infection that turns people into crystal-headed zombies. Once there, you meet Reeve, an XOF soldier whose main purpose is to drag out the game's dreadful dialogue sequences.
Unknown life form? Separate dimension.
Psycho Mantis.
With him and the assistance of these two AI that have the most obnoxious voices you've ever heard, you establish a base camp and get assigned missions. At this point, the game has finally started and the player is given full control. Allegedly. Just when you think you're going to do something uninterrupted, the game pauses and puts a wall of text on screen so you don't forget to breathe. I can't remember the last time I played a game that threw this many unnecessary tutorials at me. And even 3 hours in, I was still getting bombarded with overly in-depth tutorials that still managed to do an inadequate job of explaining this game's stupidly obtuse mechanics. The systems that these tutorials try to teach you are the death blow to Survive having any chance of being decent. Always looming over you are the eating and drinking mechanics. Eating is tied to your max health level, and drinking level determines how long you can run for. Simply getting water from a stream or killing an animal is not enough, as consuming these raw items will put you at risk of ailments that will seriously impede your playthrough until you find the rare items that can cure you. So instead, you're forced to make even more trips back to the base camp to cook food and purify water, the latter of which is not even possible for the first few hours of the game. What this means is that clean water is in short supply early on, so you get the displeasure of being able to run for 2 seconds and then triggering the same warning about drinking water from the stupid AI voice every fucking time forever.
Pay attention to your stamina. You should rest before you're out of gas. Pay attention to your stamina. You should rest before you're out of gas.
Really, I think I like who I'm becoming. There's times where I might do it just to do it like it's nothing. There's times where I might blow like 50K on the
Pay attention to your stamina. You should rest before you're out of gas. Captain, supply yourself with oxygen by using Kuban energy. You can supply yourself with oxygen by your iDroid.
These mechanics are not meaningful. They don't add anything to the game and just serve as a constant nuisance for the player. I can only guess they felt the need to add them to justify calling the game Survive, and the rapid rate at which both of the bars deplete makes for a fantastic artificial game lengthener. Then there's the combat, one of the things that should be good since it's carried over from MGS5. Instead, you get to jab at things with a stick for the first few hours. It's just one more off-putting game design choice that contributes to the utter monotony of the early game. I know that there are guns, but it probably takes 10 years to get them, and I can almost guarantee you that ammo is the rarest item in the game. The level design and mission structure only add on to the staleness of what's on offer here. You have a flat plot of land, and that's the home base, and from there, you go out into the world and do one mission and then bring stuff back to the base. The map feels procedurally generated, yet you're forced to tackle it in the most mundane, clinical way possible. Imagine a Minecraft survival playthrough where you're told what to do every step of the way. If you thought Survive would at least have no technical issues since both Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain were on PC with no major problems, you would be wrong. They found a way. By the time you're watching this video, some of these issues might already be fixed, but this is what I experienced a week after release. Just like MGS5, Survive doesn't support my monitor's ultra-wide aspect ratio, so I decided it would make more sense to just play it on my TV instead. This plan was quickly thwarted by the game's broken VSync. When I had it on, it would lock me to 30 FPS. No good. So then I turned it off, which resulted in severe screen tearing, even though the Fox engine caps to 60 FPS and my TV is 60 Hz. So I gave up on the TV idea entirely and played on my monitor where G-Sync fixed the problem with brute force. However, I had another problem. I couldn't get the game to recognize any of my controllers, so just a small problem. Playing with keyboard and mouse comes with its own set of issues, mainly navigating menus. It doesn't let you use a mouse, so you have to awkwardly use WASD as a D-pad and press enter. Then there was this weird chest unlocking minigame that must have required analog input because it was completely undoable on a keyboard. Sometimes I have to force myself through games, because it would just be disingenuous to review a game without seeing it all the way through. I wanted to do that with Metal Gear Survive, but after a little less than 4 hours, I had to give up. I just could not play anymore. The game itself being terrible was the bulk of that, but those technical frustrations just threw me over the edge. In fact, I submitted a refund ticket with Steam, something that I've never done before. Metal Gear Survive is truly miserable, and there's not even a sign of a light at the end of the tunnel. It's highly unlikely that I would go on to enjoy it if I had played more, and since the characters and story are abysmal, there's nothing to see through. I'm not sure why it exists either. I mean, yeah, because Konami wants to turn a quick profit, but out of all the options they had, why make this specifically? They could have made a sequel to Metal Gear Rising, expanded upon Metal Gear Online, or even have made a massive gameplay-only expansion to the Phantom Pain, or licensed Metal Gear out to a third party that would have done something more compelling. But instead, they made this. Something that I would never, ever recommend to anyone. If, for whatever reason, you gave Metal Gear Survive a try, or even worse, beat the game somehow, do let me know what you thought of it down below, and until next time, thanks for watching.